Okay, we started the presser. The president was about 5 minutes in, and then he was evacuated when John Roberts of Fox News reported that two shots were fired outside the fence of the White House. Let's get right to Acting Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan. Sir, it's great to have you on. Can you tell us more about what happened with the gunshots that were fired outside the White House fence? Can you fill us in?
Liz, well, what I'm being told right now is it looks apparently there's one suspect that posed a threat of some kind, and the Secret Service did engage to address that threat. The suspect was shot, has been transferred to the hospital. That's all I know right now. I'm kind of hearing at the same time you are, and I think you know and your listeners know that's what we know right now. But as we continue to get more information, some of those details could change, but that's what we know right now.
Thank you, Mark. Do we know what kind of threat this individual posed to the White House?
No, we don't have those details right now, but I tell you, Liz, if I was going to be in or around a threat like that, the White House would be a good place to be. And I tell you, in my career as an FBI agent, I was able to work with the Secret Service multiple times over my career, and I can tell you that when it comes to protection, specifically PPD, what they call the President's Protection Detail, they're absolutely, hands down, the best in the world.
Yeah, the Secret Service surrounded the White House. The press room went into lockdown. The president said he was not evacuated to the White House bunker. He was evacuated to the Oval Office. This happened about 5 minutes into the press conference. Evening Edit was tracking it. And then 10 minutes later, the president returned and he said, "Do I appear rattled? I'm not rattled." Your comments on that?
Well, he doesn't feel rattled because, as the president said in his presser when he came back, was he has the utmost respect and confidence in the Secret Service. And if you watch them, the cameras were there. They were calm, cool, collected. The agent that came and asked the president to respectfully come with him as well, calm, cool, and collected. They're professionals at what they do, and the president clearly has confidence in the service.
Well, Mark, you oversee a group of professionals now taking to U.S. cities to stop the chaos and the violence swamping U.S. cities. In Washington, 20 people shot, a 17-year-old now dead. You're looking at images now of the suspect who was shot by Secret Service outside the White House fence. He was taken to the hospital, according to the president. We have no further details. We do not know right now what danger this individual posed to the White House. We're in breaking news mode. Mark, you know, there is violence in D.C. and other cities. Can you talk to us about this? What is going on with the chaos in U.S. cities like Chicago, New York, and Washington?
Well, Liz, we actually have a couple of things going on. So we have the violence in Portland, which is very narrow. So you have a group of criminals, of thugs, of anarchists, as I call them, criminal violent opportunists that are going there with specific intent to whether burn down a federal courthouse or burn down a local police department. You know, there's that type of violence that's going on in Portland. It's been going on for a very long time. And then we shift to Kansas City, Chicago, and other areas like D.C. you just mentioned, where we have this spike in overall violent crime. And so right now, the federal agencies are trying to address both the kind of narrow violence that's going on in Portland, as well as the surge in general violence, gang violence, gun-related violence going on in other cities across this country. America needs to be paying attention. This is serious, and we need to take action to stop.
Yeah. You know, Mark, we're just looking again at the moment the president was evacuated from the James Brady press room. The Secret Service, we heard the words, said shots fired to the president. The president was removed about 10 minutes from the press room, and then he returned. Can you talk to us about any threats that you know of to the White House right now?
No, I don't know of anything. And again, I'm kind of sitting here listening and getting information as you are right now. But, you know, it's pretty standard. I mean, I think what you saw was kind of SOP, we call standard operating procedure. If they see a threat, the first thing they're going to do is go into that protective mode with the president being their primary focus. And they're going to make sure that there were no other threats and kind of verify that this was a lone suspect. And once they do that, then they're going to lift that, quote, temporary lockdown, as you saw. It took them about 10 minutes to do it. Again, standard kind of SOP.
Okay, Mark, we're so sorry. We are in breaking news mode. Thank you for coming on the show and helping us out with the coverage there.